It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Monday, January 6th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content. It is wondering if they are going to keep using Ivan Fedotov.
I don't see why not.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. You can keep the season going with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ is, of course, in Ottawa for World Juniors. We are going to get to how Team USA won gold and how the Flyers prospects fared in the tournament overall. We got to talk about the Flyers versus Toronto Maple Leafs also happening at the same time. Crazy day of hockey. Ivan Fedotov was in net for the Flyers. That's obviously other than like the OT loss, right, is the biggest part of it in terms of what's going on with the Flyers right now. And, before the game, John Tortorella said, the onus is on the Flyers to play a good structural defense in front of him because he's going to be rusty. And yeah, he was definitely rusty in this game.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's not ideal what they did to him. It's not even close to that. He hadn't played in such a long time. So that's just normal. Luckily the team did sort of make up for that. And that was a big facet of the game.
Yeah, so Fedotov had 22 saves on 25 shots. And I will say, he has always had a little bit of a rebound control problem.
Sure.
And I think it was exacerbated a little bit just because of the combination of him being rusty. And frankly, the Leafs have a very high octane offense.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They put a lot of rubber on the net. They do. So that's not unusual.
Right. So looking at then how the Flyers did defending, they played very well in this game overall. And, I said earlier on social that, I would feel good to come out of this game with a point just for the fact alone of the Leafs being so good offensively.
Yeah.
And they've been on this winning streak. They're top of the division, all of that stuff. And yet I sort of felt bad about it at the end, given how good the Flyers did play defensively in this game. They held the Leafs to less than 2 expected goals for at 5-on-5. They were well above the Leafs in expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5. Only allowed, those 25 shots on goal in all situations, which is low for the Leafs.
Yeah, it is. And, again, this ends that road trip. So they at least ended it on a decent note. I mean, it's not a great note because you didn't win, but it's a decent note. And yeah, 25 shots against them is good. I mean, as far as the, Fedotov thing, look, we had said all along Kolosov should be developing in the AHL. And Fedotov is still a developing goalie too. It doesn't matter that he's 27. It's just he hasn't played much in the NHL. So he's still getting used to that. And so either way, you were going to have this situation where both were going to need to develop to some degree, but it's better to have the kid developing, on the farm. And I hope that they make that decision.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, you're right. We've been saying this all along. And
Yeah.
I think you saw from Fedotov in this game kind of what you saw from him in November, late November, early December, when he got that stretch of a few games where he started out a little shaky, was very chaotic, very flaily, but then settled things down in his game considerably. And, there was still some, little going too far outside the net, but
Yeah, he
he had
moves around a
gotten
little too much,
better.
like early in the game, especially, and then he does settle
Mhm.
in. So, I know I saw that on like the first goal, but that's fine. I mean, again, he's still technically finding his way. It's going to take a little while.
Yeah, and I just think he needs the opportunity to do so because
Yeah,
when you carry 3 goalies, like, he's the odd man out in terms of real practice, right?
right.
In
Yeah.
terms of and so the kind of practice he's been getting has been on the side with Dillabaugh. So it's not like as quality practice as you could.
No, it's hard to stay sharp. Yeah, maybe you stay after practice and the guys who are injured or whatever will shoot on you. But yeah, it's not a lot. They share the net at practice. You get a little bit, and that's it. So yeah, now there's an opportunity here to kind of let him get some of this action back while Ersan is still day to day, and he's going to be day to day for a little while, I think.
I would think so. Now, in terms of who would potentially start on Tuesday again against the Leafs, it's an interesting question because I think Fedotov, when all is said and done, played a little better than Kolosov did in his
Yes,
last game. But now playing the same team 2 games in a row, maybe the Leafs now have video and have an understanding of him, and maybe the Flyers want to switch it up just for strategic reasons.
I mean they could. I mean, again, if Kolosov gets in there at home, it's probably a better situation. I mean, either way,
Yeah.
it's still the Leafs. The odds are against them.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't
Right.
really matter.
That's fair. That is totally fair. As far as the, other elements of the game, the Flyers were off the board as far as the power play goal goes. They had 2 games in a row with a power play goal. They were 0 for 3 in this one. I thought, the first 2 power plays weren't bad, but they weren't good either. 1 shot on goal in each of them. The 3rd power play was actually the best of the 3 where they still only got 1 shot on goal. The Leafs blocked 4 shots it was a tremendous effort by the Leafs, and I think the Flyers, like, definitely stepped it up on that one, but, you know,
Results matter.
yeah, yeah, and obviously it would have made the difference in this game, in the grand scheme of things. But again, they played well defensively, so it's kind of hard to complain about that right now. Tyson Forster scores again.
Yeah, he stayed hot.
Yeah, one of these days I will look up the exact stats of when Tyson Forster scores the opening goal in the game, what the Flyers record is, because I feel like it's bad in the grand scheme of things.
I don't know. I don't have a
But,
good handle on it. I'm not even going to pretend I
but
do. I really don't know the answer to that.
yeah, it feels like they lose games when he scores the
It's
first
possible,
goal.
but I mean,
But
it's
I
hard to
don't know.
pin that on somebody.
No, it's completely not his fault, and he should keep scoring goals. Don't
Right.
get me wrong. Yeah, it's just something that I was thinking about when he scored first. I was like, oh, that's a bad sign. But looking at everybody else in the game, it was Cam York's birthday game. He's 24 now, and I think with getting a little older and being in quote unquote your mid 20s now, you're supposed to be kind of hitting your stride
Yeah.
here. I think Torts still wants more from him, and I think it's a fair ask.
No, that's a fair ask. I mean, but again, this might be it. Like this may be where he is, and he's in between whether he's a first or second pairing based on what the team needs are, and that may just be where he is. That's it.
Yeah, I thought Drysdale played a little better in this game than he had in the previous games. He did look a little better on the power play. Again, they didn't
Still got to get
execute,
points. Yeah, he's got to
but
get
I
points.
but I felt like he was doing a little more than skating
Yeah.
back and forth on the blue line, which
Sure. So
was
maybe he'll get
better.
rewarded down the line. It's possible. Sometimes you get
Very
rewarded for
It's
hard work.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zamula played better too, which is good. Again, part of the entirety of the defense playing
Right.
a better game overall, and I think that was obviously emphasized
Yeah.
pregame in terms of what the mission was here. Scott Lawton, man, when he finds space, he makes things happen.
He
It's just
does.
for him to do that is more of a challenge these
Right.
days.
Yeah. You never know when it's going to happen, but when it does, he sniffs it out and he does a good job with it.
He does, but, yeah, I think, The only other little asterisk to this game was Jake McCabe leaving the game early after the fight with Hathaway. Looks like he may have a concussion.
I think he does. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah. So the Leafs had to play with 5D for the rest of the game. Then the idiocy of Max Domi elbowing Garnet Hathaway in retaliation for it when McCabe was the one that started the fight in the first place.
I get it, but his last name's Domi, so you don't have to really explain much after that.
Listen, we know.
But the thing is, though, while I was still in the building, they were playing. I'm not going to say where, but they were playing a video, audio of Craig Berube, and he was complaining about Hathaway after the game. Whoever interviewed him, he was complaining pretty good. So he's not happy.
Okay.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Hathaway feels bad about it, but again, he didn't pick the fight. So
Right.
I don't know what to do about that. But at any rate, the Flyers will face these Leafs again on Tuesday, so the grudge match will continue there. We'll see.
It'll be worse.
Yeah, it's going to be
It
a little
always
bit more
is when
physical.
teams are playing each other right after that and something happened. It's going to be worse.
Yeah. All right. Well, Russ, again, you are in Ottawa for the World Juniors. We are going to wrap up the tournament and the Flyers prospects at said tournament coming up next.
From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. I would take the Washington Commanders on the money line. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
On tomorrow's show, we, of course, will have our Phantoms Tuesday report. They had a pretty good week, and I want to talk about some of the things that, went well for them this week. It's pretty good. The Flyers are also going to be at the halfway point of the season in the Tuesday game against the Leafs. So we're going to look back at the first half of the season and talk about how it went. And we'll be answering mailbag questions on Wednesday. So get those in. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com. Send us a message on any of our socials or comment on our YouTube channel. All right, Russ, Team USA wins the gold medal in overtime on a goal by one of your favorite prospects, Teddy Stiga. I think, especially given that Finland was up 3-1 in this game and USA fought back. What was your assessment of, how they did it?
Well, I mean, so a couple things. I thought first that the James Hagan goal was really important because the team was just getting dominated. They were, Finland had total puck control. They were really taking it to him physically, and he just, made a terrific follow-up goal on his own shot. So I thought that was big because it kind of woke him up a little. But then, Finland scores again. What kind of surprised me was how Finland got a little aggressive with maybe like 45 seconds to go in the period. They try and make a big stretch pass. It doesn't work. And I was saying to the guy next to me, it's not good to be this aggressive this late in the period when you have the lead. And then, of course, US gets the puck and it goes right down the ice and it goes in. Like that, I've seen it happen just too many times. So that opened the door.
Right.
Because they could have been going into the locker room with a 3-2 lead. Now it's 3-3. That's a big deal. And then it heads to overtime, and anything could happen in overtime. We always talk about it. Stiga looks faster than he was in, a year ago. There's a great stretch pass to him. He has a little trouble corralling it. It gets a little ahead of him. He pulls it back in, and he just goes 5-hole. And I just go back to what I asked a pro when I was playing in a media game. He goes, I just said, how should I, this is the first one I played. He said, how should I shoot on the goalie? He goes, you know what? 9 times out of 10, just go 5-hole. It's usually there. And I think that's all Stiga did. I think he just, he didn't have a lot of time to react. So he's just like, I think he just took it and went 5-hole. That's it. And, of all the things that we're going to score on Rimpinen, who was just an amazing,
phenomenal,
just unbelievable. He made like 3 5-bell saves in just that overtime period. He was their best player. I voted him for the MVP and best goalie. And just because, without him, what would Finland even be?
Yeah, I mean, I think they had a strong tournament overall, but
They did.
him
No, they were
in
really good. Like their
particular.
defense, very solid.
Mhm.
They could puck move. They're physical. They're a good unit. But still, he was just tremendous. He played every minute.
Well, as it turned out, Heikki Ruohonen was the only one of the Flyers prospects when all was
Yeah,
said
you
and
wouldn't have
done
guessed that. That was wild.
to make it to the medal games. And you had a chance to talk to him
I did.
after the semifinals and, before they were going
Right after he
into.
got done eating a piece of pizza.
Yeah, and so between the semifinals and the gold medal game, and we'll play the audio clip of that for you right now.
I mean, depends on the situation. I think I'm relied on more on the defensive situation, but of course, depends on how many penalties there are. I'm big on the PK, but not so much I'm not on power play this year yet, so but I'm always ready for those moments.
But you've been able to get offensive chances, and you kind of have to wait for your moments. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a great line. I have great wingers beside me, so I mean, they're both super offensive guys. So I just try to win the puck, win the battles for them, and just give them the puck. It felt good. They didn't score at super end, not last minute. So we kind of, after their goal, we got kind of settled in there and just started to play our game again and not play their game. And I think we were super confident going to the overtime. You have to be the best, so it doesn't matter who comes.
It's a hard tournament, though. I mean, this is every game is life and death.
Yeah, I mean, it's once you get past the quarterfinals, there's kind of a relief that you get to play 2 more games. But it's really hard. Every team's so good that you have to be on your A game every night.
Yeah, he seems like he felt really good in this tournament, and it kind of helped build his confidence.
Yeah, and he got an assist in the gold medal game. I mean, he
Yep.
really he played a role, and he played it well, and he'll be back next year, and that's good for him. You could see he's developing. I could see he's a little faster skater than when we saw him in dev camp. His hockey IQ is good. He's going to be a more valuable member of that team next year. But this year he was kind of got in there, played defense, took some important faceoffs, and did that.
So as far as the tournament overall, obviously the bronze medal, of course, went to Czechia in another
Yes.
overtime game.
And they deserved it. They were really,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. I thought another endless shootout with 14 rounds.
Oh my God! It went
They went
14
back to
rounds. It was just
They went to
crazy.
Shala 14 times. It felt
Shala went a bunch of times. Sandine Pellica went a bunch of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was crazy. Stansel, right? It was crazy.
Yeah. So just from a prospect perspective, in terms of the already drafted prospects, who do you think kind of stood out the most and put their stamp on this tournament?
Well, I'll tell you who the most unheralded was Dalibor Dvorsky. He had 9 points in 5 games. It's just he didn't even win an award.
What's the guy gotta do?
Right. I mean, I put him in for one of the best forwards because what else does he have to do? He doesn't have great teammates around him. He's not on a stacked team. And that's a pretty good showing. So I think good for him. I mean, that was a tremendous showing by him.
Yeah, and as far as the draft eligible prospects,
Yeah.
who do you think stood out the most and did the most to maybe move them up in the rankings?
I think James Hagens did a lot to kind of be 1 or 2 and hold on to that. And I think the goal in that gold medal game was a big time goal. And he had 10 points. That's, 10 points in 6 games. It's hard to pigeonhole that. He looked good. Was he a total factor, totally dominating every game? No. But he was a factor in a lot of the games. He created, if you were to look at advanced stats for him, he created a lot of scoring chances for his line mates. So I thought he had a really good tournament, and he definitely did not hurt his draft stock at all. And he maintained. And that's, before we did all of this, I said that was his biggest thing, was he was going to have to maintain and hold off Schaefer. And unfortunately for Schaefer, he didn't get a chance to really,
Right.
he was just starting to really pick it up, and he gets hurt. So that was just unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that's one of those like we'll never know
Right. You just
things.
can't. It is what
And
it is.
yeah, and we'll see if it has an effect, come draft time. But
Right.
obviously World Juniors is like the premier
Yes.
opportunity for these guys. As far as Rimpinen, who's
hmm
undraft, who's
hmm
going to be draft eligible. I know goalies are kind of a crapshoot in terms of, at some point somebody picks a goalie and then there's a run of goalies in the draft.
Right.
So it's not really as far as when in the draft, but when amongst the goalies. Like, do you think he'll move up in that blob of goalies when that happens?
Yeah, I think he'll he'll be probably a late rounder, but I think now somebody's going to do that, and I think the same for Feldbergs for
Mm,
Latvia. Like, he was
yeah,
tremendous. The way he played in the shootout against Canada was just great. So, and he didn't have the best team in front of him, and he was really, really good. So I think he helped himself too, considering he was passed over once.
yeah, I think so. That'll be one of the most interesting things to
Yes.
see, about these goalies
Yeah.
in the draft. I think that there's kind of an unknown quantity with
Yeah, I'm
the
sure there's,
goalies in this
some
draft.
teams have put a mental check mark there, and if all of a sudden, it's like fifth, sixth, seventh round, they got some extra picks, they're thinking about them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is very clear that the Canadians still hate Ryan Leonard, and
I would say so, yes.
he got booed
And
tremendously when
Sakura was getting booed
Sikora
too.
was getting booed
I'll,
too.
I'll be
Yeah,
honest, some of us in the media thought it would be kind of a funny story if Sakura had scored in the shootout just because. But
yeah,
even when he got his bronze medal, he put his hands in the air just to kind of give it to the crowd. So that was good.
yeah, yeah, like that. And I think the Canadians are also sick of Freebird at this point.
Too bad.
But what are you gonna do? We'll
That's
see you
it.
next year in Minnesota, right?
Right. That's it.
As far as the other Flyers prospects, obviously with Team Canada being
Yeah.
eliminated, it was hard for them to even make a showing, really.
Yeah, usage wise, I mean, it was easier to see what Bonk could do over Luchenko. Luchenko's usage was even
Right.
worse, but it made it a little difficult. But from what I saw, they were fine. I have nothing negative to say. I don't have anything over the top positive either, just because of the circumstances.
Yeah, and we talked about that at length
Yeah, we did.
in our previous shows about the tournament. But yeah, try again next year, Canada, I guess, is
That's
what we'll
it. Go
say.
back to the drawing board.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is Monday, so we will, of course, have our nemesis of the week, and we are going to do that coming up next. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely has happened to me. I've had subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's those subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features, including that subscription tracker to help cancel services you no longer use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. All right, Russ. So, with our nemesis this week, last week I talked about the kind of gauntlet of games that we had to watch over the past week with all the World Juniors games, the Flyers, the Phantoms, and for me, the PWHL games. They just started their takeover tour and had a game in Seattle while all of this was going on today too. And I gotta say, like, I made it barely, but I did make it, and I did watch all those games.
You
So
did. That's good.
I'm feeling pretty good about that. And so now for me this week, I think it's waiting the whole other year for World Juniors again. I'm always on such a high after
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
tournament is over. Mostly again because Team USA won. I didn't realize how much I wanted them to win until they actually
Right. Until it
won.
was there, right? Yeah.
Till it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
there, and I was like, oh, I love these kids singing poorly to the
Yeah.
national anthem.
Yeah.
Like,
Now they're a tight
yeah.
group. It's fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. And I think, yeah, just like it is one of my favorite times of the year in hockey. And despite having had to watch all those games, it's always a pleasure in the end because it's hockey and I love the sport. And that's why I'm here talking about it.
Yeah.
So
No doubt.
can't wait until next year rolls around on that. Last week, you talked generally about that you don't make New Year's resolutions.
Never.
And I think that there's something to be said for that.
Yeah,
So
then I
that you,
can't fail myself early in the year.
yeah,
Everybody, if you make a New Year's resolution and all of a sudden you're like 2 weeks into the new year and you've already failed yourself, how's the rest of the year going to go? I don't set myself up to fail.
yeah. So what is your nemesis this week?
My nemesis of the week goes back to my training as I have a degree in hotel restaurant management. I've certainly stayed at a lot of hotels and eaten at a lot of restaurants. And so, the Marriott Ottawa, I've got lovely people who work here, and everybody who works here is great and the rooms are great, but amenities are amenities. And room service closing at 11 o'clock every night is ridiculous. Now, if it's midweek, okay, but it's still the World Juniors, but okay. But on a Friday night, you're going to close room service at 11 o'clock? Like in what Marriott and what world? Okay. So then even today,
Well, apparently at the Marriott in Ottawa.
Yes. And then so that today we go and try and eat lunch and we figure, let's just stay in the building. It'll be easy. No lunch. Lunch is closed. So it's like, but again, it's World Juniors and it's a Sunday and there's football. And I get it. Look, they may not on a normal time have a lot of business for that. But the problem is not everything in a hotel can be made, revenue can be made in every single department. That's not how it works. And when they give you that list of amenities, when you go and you book your hotel and they say, we have this, we have that, we have this, we have that, and then you can't use them, it's a little frustrating. So that's my nemesis, and they need to do better with that.
Well, I wish that the next hotel you stay in does not have that problem.
It probably won't. The next one's going to be a Holiday Inn, and I don't think it will because since there's a big snowstorm, I'm stuck here for another day. So,
well, hopefully you can make it home safe and won't have to deal without room service because I know when you're tired at the end of the day, that's all you
yeah, it's
want,
like,
to having a good bite to eat.
yeah, one day I had oatmeal, another day I had a pack of peanuts. Yay me.
Ugh. All right. Well, on tomorrow's show, we will talk about, like I said, the halfway point of the season. Tuesday's game against the Leafs is game 41. So we're going to look back. The next day after that, we're going to look ahead to the second half of the season at
Yep.
at that halfway point. Plus, we'll have Phantoms Tuesday, and considering that they didn't have Anthony Richard, who's still hurt, and Ole Lixell, who went on that road trip with the Flyers and played 0 minutes.
Did nothing.
So the Phantoms had to kind of scramble a little bit, but they managed to come out with 2 out of 3 wins in
pretty
the
good.
week. So pretty good. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. You can send in your mailbag questions or Flyers thoughts on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert. Get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.